Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to our webinar, Living by Faith, Overcoming Hurricanes in Nicaragua and Honduras. My name is Becca Choate. I am a Global Advocacy and Education Associate with Global Ministries. We're going to hear today from 4 different partners in Nicaragua and Honduras. So to introduce our partners and give a little context for our webinar, I'd like to introduce Reverend Angel Rivera Agosto, Global Ministries Executive for Latin America and the Caribbean.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Becca. And thank you to everybody for being here into this webinar, Living by Faith, Overcoming Hurricanes in Central America, specifically in Nicaragua and Honduras. It is my privilege to be here and to share the witness of our partners in these two countries. And as you may know, Hurricane Eta and Iota struck Central America. Hurricane Eta struck Central America in October 21st, 2020, and then Hurricane Iota in November 13, 2020. They struck less than a month of difference between them. The hurricanes passed through Central America with sustained winds between 75 and 155 miles per hour, storming through Nicaragua's Atlantic coast, entering into Honduran capital of Tegucigalpa and moving westward with an overwhelming amount of rain that produced many mudslides. At least 30 persons died in Nicaragua and Honduras in that first strike. And most of the infrastructures in cities like Puerto Cabezas in Nicaragua, San Pedro Sula in Honduras were heavily damaged. So here we are sharing precisely the witness of our partners as they are working to overcome the catastrophe and the damages caused by Hurricane Eta and Iota. And anguishing experiences teach us how to live with confidence and strength. And we know from the Bible that we are troubled in everything but not crushed, perplexed but not in despair, persecuted but not abandoned, struck down but not destroyed. We always carry around in our body the death of Jesus so that the life of Jesus may also be revealed in our body. And that's a quote from 2nd of Corinthians chapter 4, verses from 8 to 10. We know and we have faith in Jesus Christ, and we have faith in the work of our brothers and sisters, and as we accompany them through these troubled times. So let me introduce you to our 4 panelists for this afternoon. The first one is the Reverend Alfredo Joyner. Reverend Alfredo Joyner is the president, is the president of the Moravian Church in Nicaragua. Our second panelist is the Reverend Mauricio Larcaspada. He's the president of the Association Christian Mission of Nicaragua. They both will be having a discussion regarding the impact of the Hurricanes Eta and Iota and the work that they have developed in the country up to now. In the third place, we have Ms. Nancy Romero, Executive Director of the Christian Commission for Development of Honduras, and Mr. Alfredi Soriano. They both work with the Christian Commission for Development in Honduras. And the Reverend Feliciano Rivera, President of the Evangelical and Reformed Church of Honduras. So they will be presenting the work that they have developed in these two countries, and then we will have the opportunity to share some questions or comments that we may have after the presentation from them. So first, I want to welcome Reverend Alfredo Joyner. So he will be then sharing the work of the Moravian Church in Honduras, as well as the impact of Hurricane Eta and Iota in that country, along with Reverend Mauricio Larcaspada. Alfredo, thank you for being here.
Muchas gracias y muy buenas tardes a
Thank
todos.
you. Good afternoon, everyone. Greetings from Nicaragua. We hope that you are enjoying of hope, peace, and good health during these difficult times. I would like to start sharing that these two hurricanes affected us here in the areas of Nicaragua, where the communities, especially where the indigenous communities, Mezquitas and Mayanas, these communities have been very impacted by the poverty that has been accumulated from decades. And this has been aggravated by COVID-19 and the pandemic and all the socio-political crisis that we've experiencing in Nicaragua. It is a national crisis in the past few years. Therefore, this second hurricane, Iota, really devastated all the area that was affected in the matter of 2 weeks. Only 2 weeks in between ETA, it made a huge and a great impact. It was really a hurricane that passed and surpassed whatever ETA was not able to destroy, Iota was able to do so. The outcomes of destruction and damages in the environment, the whole ecology, the rivers were destroyed, bridges were destroyed. There was flooding in even desertic places. Guaguabar, Hanover, Insalaya, Igualpasixa, among many others. Many communities were very isolated given these hurricanes. According to official government statistics, they pointed out that all these damages were really calculated, but they approximated about 738 plus million of dollars in losses. That means about 6.2 of the nation's GDP. This impact was huge and very important. Let's talk about the infrastructure and the land transportation. As you see in the slides, there are about 350, almost $51 million that were lost. 41 million in education, 126 million in housing, and health was about 12.5 million according to the official numbers. Most of this population that was affected is people who lived out of fishing, and that became about $19 million in losses in this sector. So which means that it's practically all the capacity to fish was nullified. Small and micro enterprises were destroyed immediately. The hurricanes left such a huge humanitarian crisis because families really lost everything they had, passing from poverty to misery, to being forsaken. There were reported about 21, at least 21 people reported death. So as we face this reality, the actions of the Moravian Church, where it is important for us to mention that in March, our church, Moravian Church, was celebrating 172 years of a ministry that we consider it to be a holistic and integral ministry. And we've faced our ministry in different ways after the hurricane, especially now after having prayed and meditated on the devastation. First, with ETA, we called the leadership of the church reactivating our support to the people living in the coasts, all of those people that after Felix were impacted. Therefore, as we are experiencing the devastation of these hurricanes, we agreed that our support was going to be small and medium reach. So we were going to get organized responsibly and transparently and impartially, so that now, after 3 months, we are able to have a narrative, finance narrative report that we are able to share with anybody who has helped us and supported this collaboration and this effort, with the purpose of calling people to solidarity. Just 5 days after the impact of ETA, I was preaching in our central church, Moravian Central Church, a sermon, empathy and love in concrete ways. Then we try to, after having preached, how to translate this in an international ways so that we can reactivate the commission for assistance to victims, trying to lead people to our collection center and our fundraising account, so that we were able to put an announcement on Channel 6, on the local station, on the radio station, as well as Facebook or even WhatsApp. So we sent an appeal along with the preliminary damage that we were experiencing from ETA, and we sent this to the Office of Latin American and Caribbean, to Angel Luis Rivera Costo. And right now, we want to publicly thank you all for the very positive response that was pretty much immediate. And we were able to realize that we are not alone. This tragedy, we are not alone. There were other organizations, of course, that helped us and joined our effort in supporting us. And you are able to see them on the slide. Ministries, as I've mentioned, the American Foundation of Nicaragua, Oasis of the Lord Ministry, the Miami Lions Club, and a corporation from the Mosquito Circle of Miami. And there is another association of Convention of the Christian Mission Church, Food for the Hungry in Nicaragua. There was also a time in which Christian Medical Action supported us, and Habitat for Humanity, especially for Alto Huanqui. We also want to uplift the congregations and the people here from the Moravian Church that helped us from Managua. As we were facing this situation and other actions that we took, we decided to share 3 workshops about psychological trauma, emotional trauma, and we reached about at least 150 people in Bilwi, in Puerto Cabeza. And it's worth to mention that among these workshops that were really practical kind of workshops, I want to share briefly that there was a moment in which we recognize our grief, the losses. We ask the people to name all the things that have lost due to the hurricanes. They started saying our fruit trees, orange trees, mandarin, guava, breadfruit. We also lost our chickens, our ham, our kitchenware, our cows, our money. But we also lost our hopes, our wishes, and our dreams. Anything, even including the will to leave our houses, the home tools, and our tools to work. Other things that they mention the birds that lived in the trees. As for the sea, in the ocean, there were no more shrimp or fish because the habitat was fully destroyed and now it is covered by sand, rocks. The ecosystem was really devastated and we lost it all. Each and every single person kept mentioning at least one thing, and everyone was able to cry as they were accepting and naming everything that they lost. So we asked them, if you were able to shout or cry out your experience of loss, what would they say? They would just say, help me, oh God, help me. Just give me the strength so I can keep standing. What did you do, Eta? What have you done, Iota? Why us? I've lost everything. What are we gonna do now? I need help. I need help to stand up from this disaster. So this is part of the reality that they have lived and that they continue living. All of our people here in the coast in Nicaragua. But I want to talk about the results of the actions that we've taken. So right now, we've been able to serve more than 3,000 families from 42 different communities. Communities from Bilwi, Prinsapolca, Rosita, Bonanza, and Alto Huanqui. This family have been receiving and being benefited from the action from international help with food, clothing, footwear, uh, hygiene kits. It is important to also mention the water filter buckets, pots, pans, medicines, and seeds, especially bean seeds, so they can start growing their food. The communities that were benefited were prioritized according to the degree of the impact, and also communities that had not been served from other institutions. And many of them also had difficulties to access given the overflowed rivers. Some of them would require 2 to 4 days of travel. So even those 2 to 4 days, we were able to take them so we could give them the support that they needed. There are still communities that have not been able to receive any support, and they are experiencing a great need. They are having hunger issues. They are calling pastors, different schools, asking asking us, describing how much hunger are they experience, and that at this moment we don't have all the resources to support everyone. A lot of survivors are suffering of skin issues and vision issues as the side effects of the flooding that we experienced. Truth is that there is the lack of a psychological and an emotional attention to treat all of the people who are experiencing the losses and the trauma after the loss they are experiencing. Another thing is that families are hopeless. They don't think that they can reconstruct their lives, their houses, or even the pastoral houses. Everything is erased. So as a commission in the benefit of the people for the Caribbean, we have at least the goal that if we continue receiving solidarity from international partners, we are committed to fully support and continue supporting people with food, with kitchenware, and providing workshops that address the psychological and emotional trauma that they have gone. We also want to be a channel to support the reconstruction of congregation, churches, buildings, and church property. Classes have started again, and they go to school, but there is nowhere to sit. They may sit on the floor or on the windows, or even there are no windows to cover. This has been a catastrophic experience for all of us. I try to explain in words, but if you have the chance to come and see, listen and talk with the people so that you'll see that the need is great and the situation is tragic. But I want to thank you, thank Global Ministries for giving us this chance to share the reality that we are experiencing. And we have our hope in God that we will continue and be able to continue to get up and rise up from this experience. Thank you. Thank you very much. This is the presentation on my end.
Thank you, Pastor Alfredo Joyner, for sharing with us the work of the Moravian Church as well as the impacts of Eta and Iota in Nicaragua. And to continue sharing the work done in Nicaragua, I present you Reverend Mauricio Larcaspada, the president of the Association Convention of Christian Mission of Nicaragua. Thank you, Pastor Mauricio, for being here with us. And please, the word is yours.
Muchas gracias a todos, ¿verdad?
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming to this reunion, to this webinar. We've been facing this situation, but we've been working for the community, for all the people that have been affected. As the Reverend Joyner has been presenting, he's been sharing some of the context of what we've been experiencing and in some of our communities. It is important to point that when the hurricanes hit, 28 municipalities and cities, it's about 3 million of hectares. We are trying to take attention to the 15% of the central zone that are most vulnerable, and some of the people and areas that have been impacted are from San Jose Bocay, which is at the north, San Juan de Rio Coco, Huihuilí de Jinotega, and Nueva Segovia, El Cua and Murra. These areas are identified as the most impacted areas, given the type of soil and the amount of rain that they experience. It is important to highlight that given the amount of rain that they received, a lot of families, many families from these communities, they were without the ability to receive food, to have any food. So in Nicaragua, we have two types of farming. The first season is before October, and the second season is after December. So thankfully, some families have harvested from the first season, corn and bean. But sadly, all the harvest was lost. given the rains. The greatest impact came to hit these areas where there are a lot of communities, indigenous communities with different languages, cultures, and their types of economy is just local consumerism. It is the way that they survive is and they live is out of their own land. So the land was greatly necessary for them. These communities then lost everything. The only thing that probably were able to be saved were some houses, but there were many others that were completely destroyed. And even today, we've been doing some trips to these zones, to these areas, so that we are able to contact and see how is the context today. These communities they had the chance to receive some support. What we were able to do was to support people only from the church. We were able to reach and support anybody to benefit mining areas in Rico de Oro and Ciuna. There were 6 communities that were greatly impacted. And in Bilwi, they were all almost bashed. All of these communities are still, most of these communities are still struggling to continue surviving. Not too long ago in Managua, we had a meeting to gather all the information that the elders from the community are giving us. And they all agree that none of them have ever experienced such a thing like this. We were able to see the floodings and the amount of rain that produced such a huge trauma, a psychological trauma. But we were in those communities for 4 days. We worked there. We worked there with the people in the community. We did some activities with them that they felt our support, so that they would not feel alone. We did some events with them so that they felt accompanied. Because of this, there were a lot of requests. They were asking us, how can you guys come back and continue doing something for us? Don't leave us alone. Every time that we would have contact with the volunteers people and the people from the community, they would say, we hope that this is not the last time that you come. We work with other people in Managua to continue seeing them, to bringing donations and supplies, all the supplies that we were able to get through global ministries to work with them and to support them. So we went there. Once that the Iota was passed, we went there and they kept repeating, don't leave us alone. Because on every trip through the road, there were huge places that once they were forest, and now they seemed like a desert. It was erased. and we lost all the trees that they were apparently well rooted. We lost them all. We've never been to those places, but still we were able to witness the devastation. And we saw bridges that were communicating communities with one another. They were not standing anymore. Some of them are now being repaired, but many of them, up until today, they're still destroyed. There are provisional types of bridges through which people are able to pass. We were there in the 3 and 4 after Iota. And then we came back to Managua with the mission to collect so that we would be able to provide people all the things that we would collect, all the donations from people. So we had to wait about 13 days after Iota passed so that we would be able to share all the donations. In those communities, we supported directly 200 families. Now, I want you to understand that these communities are not like huge states or huge cities. They are just rural communities in which about 200 families were able to receive these benefits. Through global ministries, we were able to give rice, beans, sugar, oils, any other kind of food that they needed. Initially, we thought of bringing plastic. They were asking us. They would ask us, please bring us plastic because we don't have anywhere to eat. So we raised a campaign and we started a campaign here in Managua and brought them plastic dishes. And then we agreed with global ministries to take some of this also to other communities that were in such even greater need. But we are now realizing that yes, there is a lot of need everywhere, but we need to prioritize. We need to prioritize the communities that are receiving the assistance and the support. So we decided to bring a zinc to build provisional roofing for building houses. These are the communities as you see them on the slide that we are supporting right now: Cerro Azul, Carpathians, El Retiro, Samaria, Suplitin, and Miguel Gallo. And this is our principal area. Later on, we were able to support other communities that are not included on this slide, but these were the main communities. There was an older woman that she lost her whole house. Her whole house came to pieces. So as we were supporting other people, she came to us asking for help. And of course, we could not say no. So this is God's work. And so we were mindful that we're here to help them. So we would not see if they were evangelical or Catholics or Moravians. We would just work with the community, with all the community. In Rosa Grande, in La Quebrada, in San Jose de Silví, among many other that I am not able to remember right now. In Rio Bravo, I think there was another one, but that's where we did the same type of distribution with food stuff, and bringing the zinc to build houses. So right now we have this program that it's being implemented now. So we took seeds so that they can start planting and farming for the second season, which they would have started in December. So we took the time to take the seeds so they would be able to still plant and reactivate their local economy. So we took this to 2 communities, beans, seeds, as they requested, and there were approximately about 32 families that they received bean seed, and we also provided ways in which they could store the seeds and the harvest. And those ideas came from them. We bought 2 main storage so that all the community could be storing the seeds as well as the harvest. So it seems that the harvest will be good, and it's going to be good. And there's already some harvest going and happening right now. So assistance that we received, we were able to plan a short-term and medium-term plan so that we would give a seed help and seed support to start so that they would be benefited. Also, some of what we did, we gave some sort of we gave animals, we gave cows so that they could also get milk and benefit also from the products that would come from it. They're still not smiling and happily rejoicing just yet, no. But they are seeing signs of hope and hoping that the support continues. We are supporting in another areas on the north side, northwest side. In Segovia, now in the northeast, in León, in other communities that like San Pedro, where there are 50 families. And so we had to go and learn all the families that are being affected. In San Pedro, there are 50 families that they all lost their harvest and the way of farming. They lost beans. In Malpaso, another 60 family, they lost all of their harvest. And another family, in another community, there were 35 families that they lost everything for their farming. In another community, La Reinaga, there were another community that harvest corn. There were 30, and then 20 families lost both corn and beans harvests. There is another community, Valle in San Antonio, where there were 15 families that were also affected and lost all of their harvest. They were not able to get anything. And so we're grateful that now through Global Ministries, we were able to get the storage units for them to store their harvest now, because before they lost everything. the leaders from the community, the leaders of the community, they shared with us their needs, and they were specific in how they've been affected, and especially in these regions that have been the most affected, and what is most urgent for them. But there are also many other communities that I've not mentioned that have been affected. So we have hope in God that tomorrow that we're gonna go to Guatlala. We're gonna go with the purpose and the goal of providing accompaniment to these communities, to ask them what's their progress and how are they doing, and to check on all these families. So I'm very grateful for all of your attention and your participation on this webinar. Thank you. May God bless you. That's all from me.
Thank you, Pastor Mauricio. And as we see, the churches from Nicaragua have been working in an integral way, dealing with the whole, the needs of the communities, not only the needs that comes from the damage from infrastructural debris and so forth, but also to try to reactivate the economic well-being of the communities. Remember that these are kind of agrarian communities. They depend on their farming, on their products from the land. So we are very hopeful that they could continue developing and kind of recovering from the hurricanes Eta and Iota, so they can continue providing for their families in the Atlantic coast, as well as into the indigenous communities where the Moravian Church and the Christian Mission of Nicaragua are working there. So let me then introduce you to Miss Nancy Romero, Executive Director of the Christian Commission for Development in Honduras. She will be then having a presentation of the work that they develop in Honduras. Nancy, thank you for being here.
Hola, muy buenas tardes a todos.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Blessings. It is such an honor and pleasure for me to be here with you. It's by the mercy and grace of God that God has helped us to be here today. For us as a team, as the Evangelical and Reformed Church in Honduras, this is going to be a very brief presentation for you to see the damage and the loss from the hurricanes Eta and Iota. This presentation and all the work has been developed by a whole team that we also have some members from international community, and we have representation from people from these organizations, as well as just lay people from society. As an introduction, we just want to share that 2020 was a year with very high hopes and high expectations. We thought that it was going to be a great year for projects. We had planned so many activities, but we have to be mindful that we as Christians have to remember that our plans are not the Lord's plan. So what happened last year was a year that started with the pandemic, COVID-19. And starting in March, we were isolated and quarantined because the number of cases were increasing in Honduras. And maybe around today, there have been around 200,000 people that have died of COVID-19. So towards the end of the year, as we started with COVID, then we ended the year with hurricanes. So last year, we would say it's been one of the most catastrophic years for us. We experienced about 30 storms, but out of those 13 were hurricanes. And October 31st, the government was very criticized. During that week, we had a holiday week here, a local holiday week that people who work in the government are not working. They take the week off. And when the hurricanes started hitting was during this week. And this was a state of emergency, and the hurricane was about to hit. And all the tourist area and region was affected. As we know, the hurricane started in the Caribbean, the northern part of Honduras. And so our government immediately declared the state of emergency. It came from the tourist zone and the area to all the center and everywhere in the city and in the country. And given the types of storms, the government declared the state of emergency. Now, Eta were about between 15 to 35 inches of flood, which is way more than the Hurricane Mitch, which has been the greater we've experienced. The category was between 4 and 5 and was able to lose strength. But there was an accumulation of about 30 inches of water that on top of what we've experienced was accumulating. So there were 5 more months, 5 more times of water that we've ever experienced. So farming and all the farming was very affected in Honduras. So I want to talk with you about the effects in the main sectors of Honduras that both hurricanes affected. So in the social sector, we're talking about millions of lempiras, which is the exchange. So in the social sector, there were about 7,800 million of lempiras. There were about 9 million of lempiras losses in the production of the agricultural, tourism, and business industry. In the infrastructure, we experience as we see on the table on screen, if we sum it all up, we were about 45,000 million of lempiras. Eta and Iota only caused officially about 100 deaths in people. However, the effects were catastrophic in the people, because the people who are usually those who live out of agricultural and farming areas, they are not able to sustain themselves. The losses were very significant in Honduras. The incident report.
Tenemos aproximadamente que se afectaron 4.044.000 familias, personas.
So we see that there were more than 4 million people affected by both hurricanes. Homes were affected tremendously or mostly destroyed. More than 92,000 homes. Now there were crops that were lost, about 6 million acres. And out of the 96,000 people registered, they were sent to shelters, and 78 cities of the almost 300 cities of the country, people were looking for shelter. And this was really hard because we were also living through the pandemic. So the safety measures in the shelters were making the sheltering really hard for people, because some shelters may have higher standards for safety measures. Some others were not as rigid. And so after this catastrophic events caused by the tropical storms in Honduras, now we are facing great challenges. But these challenges are not only because of the loss of people affected, but also, as we've been talking about, the food insecurity and poverty and homelessness that people are experiencing. Adding on to this, we need to address the possible outbreaks and the outbreaks that have been happening about dengue, the chikungunya, COVID-19, and any other diseases that are because of the accumulation of water. Honduras is one of the greatest fights that has had the government is because of the dengue. We're going to see a video so that our government created for all of us to see the damages and the impact of these hurricanes. The dimensions of the flooding in the Valle de Sula because of Eta and Iota has been catastrophic and even apocalyptic as never imagined before. In less than 15 days, both hurricanes hit one of the most important regions of production in the country was hit. The volumes of the rivers, Chamaraquelon and the other river were great, and these have been 3 times as much as ever. And here you see the numbers of comparisons of how it is 3 times as high. There was a great an overflow of the flooding of the rivers. And floodings hit the strength that the infrastructure of the city could have ever imagined. There was no infrastructure that could have been able to support and go through it. There is another video that we're able to some of the side effects in the northern part.
Gracias. Bueno, para el 2020, ¿verdad? Tenían aproximadamente, se
So
esperaba
as you
una
can see now for 2020,
del 7.4,
there has been a drop from the GDP of Honduras of 7.4.
aproximadamente un 8.2%. ¿Qué significa esto? Una
So
caída drástica
right now,
que va a tener un gran impacto a nivel
we are
nacional.
decreasing and expecting a decrease now, not only of a 7.4 as it happened in 2020, but now it will increase to a 8.2,
Desempleadas desde
which there will be a lot of unemployment.
el ETA y IOTA.
And after the ETA and Iota, there will be a huge, even more impact also, not only of as unemployment, but in schooling and migration to United States, but as well as Spain.
Si le sumamos a la falta de
Because if we add
y ahora con tanto desempleo, esto va
the unemployment that was before the hurricanes, and now the unemployment that it's happening after the hurricanes, people lost everything. They lost their safety, their sense of security, their hopes, and all this is creating a great migration.
Quisiera que vieran algunas fotografías.
I would like to just simply show some of the pictures on how you can see the flooding in the agricultural and farming. And not only in agriculture and farming, but also in the infrastructure and industrial zones.
En su totalidad, ¿verdad? Se inundó. Y tenemos también inundaciones en colonias, en barrios, ¿verdad?
These are floodings in just local neighborhoods to just show you how people simply lost everything. And just now we are trying to assess the process for reconstruction. So this is our context nationally. So now I want to just present and share with you the work that through global ministries we've been able to do after these hurricanes impacted. So as we are starting, I just want to briefly let you know that the CCD, Comisión Cristiana de Desarrollo, is a nonprofit that supports the community, and we center our support to communities in which right now we are working is the north side and what we would call the drive road, which includes 5 different departments of the south of our country. This crisis, however, affected all the sectors in our country. The south was affected, those with closer with the Pacific Ocean, and the people who were close to where rivers flow or flowed, all those communities were greatly impacted by the overflow of the rivers. And as I said previously, the people who, most people in those areas, their main work and activity is the agricultural, whether farming or raising animals. They lost everything. And also, tourism was greatly affected, and a lot of other people would work in tourism. Could you go back? There you go. So our goals were to contribute with the funds that we received to assist the people in the southern part of the country affected through supplying food and providing food pantries in the areas that were affected not only in their economy, but also in their infrastructure and their homes A lot of people have to go to shelters. So the main goal was to provide about 525 direct families that we were able to support, in addition to some other people that we supported through the Global Ministries resources. As you see, we went to the city of Choluteca mainly, also in La Joya, which goes to the Pacific coast and the southern part. We also went to El Corpus in San Marcos and the Central District. So how did we do the support? Well, we got close to the community leaders. We visited churches. We visited just civil leaders, community leaders, because they know who are the families who were more impacted and in greater need. And as you know, and you've heard, it's just impossible to help everyone who is in need. So that's why we went to the community leaders, because we needed their assistance. And really, as you hear the people giving thanks of the support receiving, there are no words to say the emotions that we felt, because many other people perhaps were trying to support them, but we were able to be there with them while they were still waiting for others to help them, like other nonprofits. And of course, the government was not there yet. And we were able to be there even before the government, and they were so grateful. We were able to see how they were sharing, and our people, our leaders and volunteers were actively participating in distributing food or packaging these packages. It was just amazing, and the feeling was great. So let's continue. As we continue telling you the methodologies, there were achievements in such a short time. We were able to facilitate the buying of this supplies, because let's be mindful, COVID is still here, and the crisis that we've experiencing with food supply due to COVID has been great. And then add on to that the impact of these two hurricanes. And so there were a lot of people, as we would call them, coyotes, that they would, quote unquote, bring food and transport food, but they were actually keeping it to then distribute it in like a black market way. So we were able to make use of our connections in families and other people, so we were able to supply food to reach as many people and families as we were able in the Central District and the Southern area, to get food and basic food, at least for these families. Through the accompaniment of Global Ministries, we were able to supply basic needs, which was food, but also materials like hygiene packages, personal hygiene, and also cleaning supplies. I want to show you two testimonies of people who were benefited. And we are not able to hear. No. There seems to be some technical difficulties, folks, because I am not able to hear right now.
Angel, at the top of your screen, there's a share sound. If you could do that so we can hear the video.
Muestre solo uno si gusta. Bueno.
I'm looking for that function, but I don't find it.
It'd be in the drop-down menu. There's options. So at the very top of your screen where Zoom will drop down.
Bueno, mi nombre es Elsa Minta Vargas de la comunidad de La Nona y bueno,
Hello, my name is Mirta Vargas from La Nona.
Globales, ¿verdad? Y a CCD
We just want to
por
say
esta
thank you to
operación
Global
que nos han dado
Ministries
en esta gran
for helping us
ruina que hemos tenido, ¿verdad?
because
Sobre
we are really in
primero la
ruins.
pandemia, ¿verdad? Del virus, luego los
The
huracanes que
pandemic
llegan,
first,
que
then the
tienen que venir, las
hurricanes.
operaciones también que vengan y que sigan viniendo.
So we just want to say thank you and please keep supporting and accompanying us.
Con atención de la Comisión Cristiana de Desarrollo, CCD. Esta institución ha conseguido una ayuda con unas iglesias de Estados Unidos que se llaman Ministerios Globales. Nosotros somos un enlace nada más porque hemos estado trabajando con ellos en otros proyectos de asistencia técnica con las cajas rurales de la zona, ¿verdad? Y por este motivo es que estamos haciendo la intermediación para que ustedes tengan...
So we're here from Global Ministries and we are an intermediary of the support.
¿Dónde viene la ayuda? ¿Para quién, verdad? Les repito, nosotros representamos a la Comisión Cristiana de Desarrollo.
We are representing the Christian Community of Development.
¿Verdad? Nosotros somos un enlace, ¿verdad? Porque hemos trabajado con ellos.
We are a link between you and the people supporting you.
También. Entonces estamos aquí para apoyarles sabiendo que
and we're here to support you,
en el tema de cosecha, ¿verdad?
knowing that you've lost a lot, especially in your farming.
Que no es el perjuicio que han tenido en la costa norte, pero sabemos que depende de lo que ustedes siembran y cuando no hay cosecha, pues hay un problema serio de seguridad alimentaria. En este momento, pues vamos a proceder a entregar la ayuda, sin antes pedirle que algunos de ustedes dé las palabras como han perdido, pues, cómo fue el problema que han tenido de pérdida de los granos básicos que ustedes siembran acá en la zona, en los productos que haciendo, y agradecer pues también a la institución que está mandando esta ayuda. Algunos de ustedes que tome la palabra.
Hey, buenas tardes.
Hi, good afternoon.
Soy originario de la comunidad de las Trovas Pasilagua.
I
Agradecerles
am from Pasinagua,
Comisión Cristiana de Desarrollo por esta
and we just want to thank
ya que
the Christian Community of Development
en los cultivos, más en frijol y en el maíz,
because that will be able to start planting and hoping a harvest.
a beneficiar a muchos hogares de la comunidad de las
And we
Trovas.
know that this is going to be very beneficial for many families of our community.
Les decimos muchísimas gracias.
So we just want to say many thanks to you.
Bueno, ¿cuáles fueron los desafíos que encontramos durante
So
la...
we also face some challenges.
Hola.
Yeah, you have the image in the screen.
No.
Oh, okay. Do you have it now? Nancy, do you have the image in the screen?
No.
Okay,
Siguiente.
Let's go next to the challenges.
Ahí.
Mhm.
Ok. ¿Cuáles fueron los desafíos que encontramos durante...
So I want to talk about the challenges that we faced. As I mentioned before, the scarcity of the products and the supplies was one of the greatest challenges, the shortages of products and the pandemic. Taken into account, we were also mindful of the risks that our volunteers were facing, and also it's important to highlight that we wanted them to be safe. So what are the plans that we have for the future? As we continue on the next slide, we'll see that for this slide, you're able to, we will hear from Freddy Soriano. He's going to explain the plans and the goals for the future, that we have activities and plans and events for the future. Good afternoon, my brothers and sisters. My name is Alfredo Soriano from hello, Mauricio in Nicaragua. Hello, Angel Luis. Thank you for opening this space, this forum, so that we can interact and share the damages, not only the natural disasters, but also the corruption in our country. Nancy was sharing very important information about the damages that the natural disaster created, both Eta and Iota. But there are still side effects of the damages, especially in the south of our country, where has been mostly our support and accompaniment. But now the damage that our communities are facing is the shortages of supplies and food. So if you go to the market, the local market, so now if you go to a local market, you will find a pound of beans now averaging $4 to $5 American dollars. So there has been an inflation and financial impact. The GDP has been impacted due to COVID and both of the hurricanes. And people are saying that for us to restore the country fully, it's going to take about 2 decades. And that's why a lot of our brothers and sisters from our country, they are just migrated to Mexico or the United States.
dentro de los planes estratégicos, planes de contingencia.
So we are preparing strategic plans for the contingency so that we prevent and create prevention measures, especially in the climate area, so that our people who are in the fields farming, they are able to do so with new techniques, taking into account the climate change. So we are teaching them that and making them learn that they are able to create new plans that they can adequate the climate change so that they will not lose. Now our brothers and sisters who are working in the health sector, we want to also spread the knowledge that there are a lot of sickness and illnesses that can be spread due to this situation that we're living in. So we're creating tools that will be a way to prevent risks, future risks in our community. And how are we going to do this? Where we're going to have to do prevention measures for floodings, taking into account the rain.
Como el equipo de comunitario para poder atender en la emergencia a cada una.
So we're also wanting to train people within the community so they can immediately respond to the needs. And also the next level of the plan that we are creating is to provide the tools for them to so they can act according to their own needs.
Municipios más el distrito central más 4 municipios del occidente. Son más aproximadamente como unos 24 25 municipios que
there are about 24 or 26 different cities that we are working with right now. We are trying to do a flow chart that in which we want to include in this flow chart everyone that it's going to be involved. There is a future plan of contingency that we are presenting. So we want to create a plan for each and every activity that we are going to support. And also on each and every one of the communities that we are working with. Attending and giving attention to each of the events and activities that we sponsor. Whether our projects of health or feeding. An important information here is that in our country, the majority of the help and the assistance was directed to the north. But what's happening with our south? The south was forgotten. Farming was greatly impacted, as you heard, and the government to this day has not really supported us.
Alfredi, sorry, I think that we will need to wrap up at this moment because we have another presentation from the Evangelical and Reformed Church of Honduras. And I just want to respect also the time of our friends from the Evangelical Church. So if you can kind of summarize what you are presenting so we can give some time to Reverend Feliciano Rivera, please.
En español, pero.
Sí, perdón, pensé que te habían traducido. Es que necesitamos hacer la cuarta presentación y ya estamos bastante cortos de tiempo, hermano querido, y tú disculpa, pero si acaso puedes resumir un poco para poder darle oportunidad al pastor de la Iglesia Reformada y Evangélica Reformada de Honduras.
Muy bien. En conclusión a todo esto, pastor.
So in conclusion, we are planning to do accompaniment, social accompaniment. We are trying to give accompanying to the people. What we want to do is pretty much prevent any future natural disaster. So just to finalize.
Bueno. Ok, bueno, gracias, compañero Freddy. Pues ya para finalizar.
Thank you, Freddy. Just to end, we would like not to present any videos, but we would like to just show the pictures of us, yeah, the gallery of pictures when we were giving the support. Here is in El Corpus. Here are all the micro companies that we did support them. Here is in the south. They lost all of their harvest.
Ahí también es en todo el municipio, representantes del municipio de San Marcos de Colón.
This is in San Marcos de Colón.
Y ellos también son de todo el municipio de Pespire, Choluteca. Y ellos solamente estaban diciendo gracias, Ministerios Globales.
They were just really very grateful to Global Ministries. And we just want to say thank you to all the people supporting and donating through Global Ministries to our people. We are, all of our people are really grateful with Global Ministries. We've been in partnership through the years. So we just want to say thank you. May God bless you greatly.
And we're very thankful for the work of the Christian Commission of Honduras. And we just want to be faithful with the commitment of the Evangelical and Reformed Church in Honduras. So we will allow now to Reverend Feliciano Rivera that he can introduce us to the work of the Evangelical and Reformed Church of Honduras. So Reverend Feliciano Rivera, please, and thank you.
Gracias.
Thank you. Greetings to everyone, especially to everyone in Global Ministries.
Todos los amigos y hermanos.
I also want to say hi and greet everyone of the United Church of Christ, the different conferences in the United States with whom we've been able to work hand in hand since 1998. And I see that many of you are online, so thank you. Thank you for being willing to hear from us and listen to us, to our partners in Nicaragua and Honduras. And I will be brief because I am aware of the time. As everyone has already talked about the context in Honduras and Nicaragua, we also experienced in the first 16 days of 2020, we were really impacted by Iota and Eta. It was first a tropical storm and impacted the whole country.
el caos, donde impactó los daños.
I'm talking about also the impact in the north and the disaster that happened in the infrastructure and on the roads,
Acentuadamente en el Valle de Sula,
especially in the valley of Sula,
garífonas de Gracias a Dios, el departamento del Paraíso, el Ancho, y extendiéndose
and department of El Ancho, going all the way to the west.
Además de los daños materiales,
In addition to the material losses, of course, Eta and Iota,
de personas buscaron refugio
as we've heard, forced so many people, thousands of people, to seek refuge anywhere they were able to find it. Many of our churches served as shelters. We are aware of the limitations that many were facing, especially because of the COVID-19 measures. However, our pastors tried to look for help in anywhere they were able to find, so that we could make the churches shelters, so that the experience of the evangelical and reformed church, we received greatly a lot of support. The government, through the institution that deals with all the disasters, talked with the association, the National Association of Evangelical Churches. They distributed through us a lot of food, a lot of assistance, and they used our places of worship as places of distribution of help. So it is important for us to highlight that. In the Valley of Sula, the impact of this flooding was one of the most catastrophic ones. And it started generating a lot of issues with the hills breaking apart. Also, there were 20 bridges that they were destroyed, and many others main roads. 300,000 schools, churches, and community centers were turned into shelters. There were so many houses destroyed. In our experience through the Evangelical and Reformed Church, there were 8 church buildings that were totally destroyed. They were total loss, and many others were greatly damaged. Many of the families of our churches lost everything in their homes because of the flooding within their houses. And of course, this also created a lot of damages in their own health. There is a video
no salió bien todavía. Ahí si me puede ayudar
There
Angelisa.
is a video on the slide 5 that was also shared with Nancy, but we were not able to hear the sound. So you'll see here the road that it's connecting, that it's Guatemala and El Salvador. It's just a few kilometers. There is a landslide that it's happening as people are trying to evacuate the place. They were already isolated. They were trying to desperate from going. And if we are able just to watch it, if not, I'll keep going.
la necesidad del pueblo, del prójimo, Jehová. Gracias.
Primero pase un lado, luego el otro.
They're giving thanks to God in the video for being
Vengan
able
orando,
to
vengan pidiendo al
evacuate.
Señor. Jehová Dios lo guarde.
And then suddenly they start shouting and saying, watch out, watch out.
Guarda la mujer, Padre. Guarda la mujer, Señor. Padre.
Don't forget about the women, hermanos.
Guárdale, Padre, gracias. Gracias por oírme, Jehová.
Escenarios como esos son definitivamente.
Pictures like this are many. We see how the city in itself was destroyed. The airport was destroyed. This is just a picture from Lima. And there are many other cities that look like this. They're calculating that maybe in 2 or 3 years it's gonna look better or some sort of normal. This is someone from one of our churches, from San Buenaventura.
Esta inundación es también.
This is in San Pedro Sula, and there you can see the roofs and the flooding and how high. There is a church that was fully covered under the water. So it's not only the people in the community that it's suffering, it's the ecosystem. Let's keep going.
Cada iglesia de nuestra denominación.
So a church in our denomination have been receiving clothing and items for their homes, supplies, so that we are not discriminating the people by race, color, creed, or ideology. It doesn't matter if they go to a church or not. We are giving this, and each church has made their church building as a shelter available to others. We're providing medical assistance to those congregations that are serving as shelters. And we are also giving clothing and food and other supplies that people may be in need. To those congregations that were mostly devastated or affected, it is important to highlight that each and every of our congregations has turned into a community center, if you will, that are distributing and being a link between others in the community to supply for their needs. We really live by the concept or a holistic salvation, an integral salvation, which is to restore and to lift up and uplift all of our communities so that we are able to continue. There are just a few pictures that we want to share of us in the church in action on slide 13 as you've been seeing with other of our partners, we were able to provide food to others, prioritizing their needs. These are different communities where the local church is providing mattresses, food, even mini stoves. And we really are grateful with Global Ministries because immediately we were able to receive support, so that we were able to receive support, so that we were able in that order to support each other. And we did so, as I mentioned, without discriminating or distinguishing among ourselves. So there are challenges, and the main challenge is to reconstruct. The first stage is in which we are right now. We are trying to overcome the losses, the impact, especially with food, with each and every people that are in need. But given now the level of destruction, we are working with other international religious and philanthropic institutions so that we're able to repair the infrastructure damages caused by these hurricanes. And these are not only on infrastructure, but also material and emotional. So we, as PCD has talked, we've experienced something like this in a way before with Hurricane Mitch. But also we are able to have the experience with many people like you in global ministries in many different states in the United States, that we are working together building houses. About 245 houses have been constructed. And we were able to build pretty much a whole neighborhood, build up and rebuild a neighborhood that was a lake covered by the flooding. However, we are willing to continue working. Our hands are ready to work because the destruction is great. And given the amount of destruction, we are not able to do it alone. But it is only through solidarity. The solidarity of all of those who plant and seed for the kingdom of God. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Reverend Feliciano Rivera, President of the Evangelical and Reformed Church in Honduras. And you have heard the work of our partners in Nicaragua and Honduras. Our friends from the Resource and Development Office in Global Ministries have shared with us your possibility of joining into this cause. You can donate by online, by check, or by phone. Here in the screen, we're sharing the ways that you have in order to donate for the cause, and you have the online form. You can donate by check or calling to our friends at the office, specifically David Barrickman. You have the phone number there. And if by any chance you need any further information, we will be available to share with you through our mission update service, where we publish the results of the work of our partners. We have a weekly service of mission updates that you can access in a weekly basis. And we thank our friends in Honduras and Nicaragua, and we hope that God will continue with you, and we as Global Ministries have our commitment to accompany you and to walk alongside with you in solidarity, and also giving the opportunity for you to continue sharing the wonderful work that you are doing amid this crisis that you're living there in Nicaragua and Honduras. If you allow me, please let us then end this webinar with a word of prayer. So please join me into this prayer. Dear Lord, we thank you for our partners in Nicaragua and Honduras. And as this eye of these hurricanes looked upon them, presenting a reality, presenting or maybe uncovering the existing reality of injustice, of oppression, of lack of so many resources that are needed to sustain life. We know, dear God, that you are with them and you are with us as we walk alongside, looking for more justice, looking for more peace, looking for the well-being of our brothers and sisters in Nicaragua and Honduras. Allow us to continue accompanying them. Allow us to continue hearing from them the good news of Jesus Christ and the kingdom of God as they walk and as they serve churches and communities there. We pray specifically for the Atlantic coast, for the Mosquito communities, for all of the peasants, women, children, people that are suffering at this moment, and allow us to be with them and allow us to continue witnessing your love, witnessing the solidarity that you put in our hearts to continue walking alongside our friends there. Please give them strength, give them health, protect them every time they cross a river, every time they visit a community, every time they use their vehicles, the resources to serve the people in Honduras and Nicaragua. Be alongside them, dear God, and allow us to continue accompanying them into this endeavor. We thank you, Lord, in the name of Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen and amen.